Hey guys, Diane here with the Gran Monster Review, and today I have a spooky Halloween horror recommendations list. We've got witch books, we have haunted house stories, a little bit of blood, guts, and gore. I feel like that has to be on every Halloween horror recommendations list. Or I even have some darker books, Descent into Madness. Whatever you're looking for, I got you. So hit that like and subscribe, and we'll get into it. Okay, so this is not my first Halloween recommendations list. It's not going to be my last, but somehow the last list I made was 2 years ago. How that has happened, I have no idea, but I will link that one above. This is in addition to that. All those books are still valid. They're still spooky. They're still scary. I still love them, but this is just, I've just read so much since then, so I just wanted to put a new list out there. So first we're going to start this list off strong with Greg Chapman and Midnight Masquerade. I cheated just a little bit by putting this book on there because I haven't really read all of it, but what I have read of it just knocks it out of the park. A lot of the stories in this book are either on Halloween night or there's one called October Lane. It's just everything you want and you need from a Halloween story. My favorite story in this book so far anyway is The Last Night of October. I've talked about this story a million times. It's absolutely flawless. You have to read it. It's about an old man. Every Halloween, this kid just basically comes and harasses him and he just ignores it, whatever. But this Halloween, his nurse is there. Anyway, long story short, she ends up letting him in, and it just goes from bad to worse to hellish to just crazy. But this is definitely one. It's only like 87 pages, I think. I don't even know if it's that long. So, but there's a lot of story and a little bit of in that little 87 pages. So that's definitely one that I would recommend. And then next we have Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This is a pretty popular book, and for good reason. It's a good story. It's a haunted house. It has a really easy storyline to follow. This is about a woman. She ends up inheriting a haunted house from her dad. You know, thank you, Dad. Not only does she inherit the house, but she inherits everything that kind of comes with it. When she was young, her father had written a book about what had happened in this house. And so she's trying to figure out the truth between what she remembers and what he's written in the book. But this is a really, really good and atmospheric, spooky read. And that was Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. Next, we have Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker, and this book is wild. I have seen Hellraiser I don't know how many times, so I was like, you know what, let me check out the book. It's not going to be better than the movie because I have always loved the movie, but this is about a guy. He has kind of lost feeling in this world, so he's seeking sensuality in a different realm. Well, he finds it, and he finds a lot. This is such a sensual, yet disgusting, yet grotesque, yet fanciful book. There's so much that happens, and this is a really short book as well. I feel like a lot of books on here aren't really that long. I just wanted to give you something that would pack a punch, but this is definitely one that I really enjoyed. I read it recently. Somehow it took me that long to finally read a Clive Barker book, and I'm glad I did because this was just gross, but in the best way. Okay, next we have Hell House by Richard Matheson, and this is a classic and for good reason. This book was so creepy, so depraved, but in the best way. So this is about 4 people. They are trying to prove or disprove whether or not this house is haunted. This is something that I read maybe about a year ago, but I reread it in preparation for this list just because I wanted to kind of get in the headspace of haunted houses and things. And I was like, man, I forgot what this was like. I'm scared. This was a book that genuinely scared me. In certain situations, it genuinely grossed me out, but it also kept me so intrigued that I couldn't put it down. This is one of those books that you're always going to remember. The Richard Matheson, I mean, he's just a flawless storyteller. So this is definitely a haunted house book that you're going to have more memories of this book versus any other book you've ever read. It's going to stick with you and it's going to haunt you. So this is definitely one that I would definitely read this year. And then next we have Intercepts by T.J. Payne. And this was on my Halloween TBR, which I'll also link. But this was really good. I wasn't sure if I was really going to like it because, like I said before, I don't really like like government testing type of vibe, but this was so good and so bloody and gory and scary. It's just everything you want in a horror book. This is about a guy, he works in this secret facility. They're doing all these weird experiments on humans. Obviously goes wrong. This was such a good book. I'd heard a lot of hype around this, but I just wasn't sure. Like I said, it's not something I tend to gravitate toward, but I'm really glad I did. So I would definitely give this a try, especially if you want something like a little different. Next book on the list is Gothic by Fracassi, and this is about a man. He is going through a midlife crisis. He's really down on himself. He doesn't have the looks anymore. He's struggling to write his next book. A lot of things are just going wrong in his life. His girlfriend ends up buying him this beautiful Gothic desks, and things start to look up. A lot of things start to change, but they're also changing within him. He's having like these dark thoughts. He's having these dark motivations, and it's really starting to affect his life. I feel like Fracassi is a very dark person. I feel like his books translate so much of maybe his inner turmoil. I don't know, but I am here for it. This was a really grotesque and sensuous story, but it was also, I would say that this and Hellbound Heart have a lot in common. They're both sensually grotesque in a way, but it's also enjoyable to read. Take it as you will, but this was a really, really good book. And then we have The Patient by Jasper Dewitt. And I've talked about this book many times. I have a single book review for that, and I'll link that as well if you want to hear just more about that book on its own. But this is about a patient. He has been a patient in this mental facility for about pretty much his whole life, since he was 6 years old. And they still don't know what's wrong with him. They have tried to diagnose him with different things. They don't really fit. And there's a new doctor that comes in, and he's like, hey, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. And it just takes you through what this patient has been through, what he's put other people through, because if he's around other patients or doctors or nurses too long, they end up going mad. They go insane. They commit suicide. And so this is a really dark book, but it's so interesting. And I love the journey it takes you on, because you're trying to figure out where he came from and how he turned out this way. But this was a solid read. I would say if you had to choose maybe one book, I would say to pick this one. I've also said that a few other times, but I'm serious this time. And then we have Come Closer by Sara Gran. And I love this book. When I first read it, I remember feeling genuinely scared. There's a specific point in this book where I was like, oh my, like I really had to kind of look behind me. It gave me the chills. This is about a woman. She is not sure if she's slowly losing her grip on reality, if she's having mental health issues, or if she's being possessed or haunted. And so it is her struggle trying to hold on to her sanity, basically, and that she's just losing. There's no doubt about it. Something is going on. But this is a really scary book. I would say when I think back to when I was reading it, I just remember feeling very on edge. And I feel like that is something that you really want in a Halloween book. I'll say it again. If you're going to pick one book, pick this one too. And then last but not least, we have The Year of Witching by Alexis Henderson. And this is more of an oppressive cult type of book. She is in this very oppressive community where women don't really have any rights. They're there pretty much for one thing, to pop out babies. And so she is kind of caught in between the life that she's living, the life that she wants, and why she's being called to the dark woods. So you're kind of going along that journey with her. This is also pretty gory. There's a lot of blood in this book. And I felt like this is something that would really kind of hit that witch vibe if you're looking for that for this Halloween season. So that was my list. I feel like any book on here is going to be a winner, especially if you're like me and you want a little bit of variety. But hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.